A snowblower auger gearbox, a critical component on your machine that shouldn't be overlooked. Was this one? Let's find out. Hey guys and gals, welcome to Garage Gear. I'm JB, giving you the best tips and tricks to survive life in and out of the garage. And if you are feeling the vibe and you want to be part of the tribe, subscribe. Before we get draining, let's talk about what's going on here. Impeller shaft going into the gearbox, worm gear on the end, spinning another gear that's on the auger shaft, making your auger spin just like the differentials on your truck. And just like that differential, the fluid inside helps keep everything lubricated nicely. First step, I like to begin by running the machine for approximately 5 minutes with the auger spinning. This will help to get any fluid inside that gearbox moving and up to a warmer temperature, making it flow better. 5 minutes later, shut it down and bring it inside. And what I like to do is raise the back end slightly. I like to use gravity to my advantage depending on where the drain plug is. Just raise the back end up on a couple of wooden blocks and you're good to go. Pull the spark plug to prevent any unnecessary startups. Let's crack this baby open. All right, here's what we got. Fill bolt, drain bolt. Here's an example of a newer gearbox. Fill bolt on the top and a drain bolt here on the bottom. Slide a pan underneath, and it's also a good idea to have some cardboard down because this can get messy. These bolts I've seen be a number of different sizes on many different models, so any type of adjustable wrench like this will do. Get them on there and loosen them up. I like to loosen the fill bolt first. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. She's coming free. I'm gonna use a smaller one now so I can get in here. We want this guy loosened up so we can get some air in there. Next, we're gonna get the drain bolt, get the wrench on it, loosen it up, get my smaller wrench in there. When this plug comes out, oil should start coming out. Now we can get it by hand. And here we go. Oh yeah. Look at that. Loosen this guy up some more. Fill plug, I'm going to set that aside so I don't mix them up. That's not too bad. A little stinky though. Now let's have a look at these plugs really fast. This is the fill bolt. Some of these plugs can be magnetic, so you may see some debris attached to the end. Simply wipe them off with a shop towel and see what comes off. Not too bad, just a little dirty. Now let's have a look at the drain plug. I imagine more stuff will be attached to this one, but we will see. Not too bad. Now if you see a lot of debris coming off and sticking to these plugs, then that could be a sign that your gears are wearing down inside. So keep an eye on these and listen for any noises that your gearbox might be making. We're gonna let everything drain out here. You want to get every drop out as best as possible. At this point, go get a bite to eat or let it drain overnight like I do to ensure that every possible drop has made its way out. Then you can just finish it up in the morning. All right, let's get a peek at this oil now. This is pretty dirty. This would be far dirtier and far more black if the previous owner didn't touch this at all. So I imagine that the previous owner did do this at some point in the past. Who knows how long ago. Now what I'm gonna do here is shine a light into the hole to see the gears. And if I can see teeth on the gears, we're looking pretty good. But if it looks dull, then we might have an issue on our hands. Everything here, I can see teeth on the gears. We're looking pretty good. Everything looks shiny and clean inside. At this point, we're gonna level out the machine and get it back to a level surface. All good, let's reinstall our drain plug. Make sure you line your threads up nicely, twist her in by hand. Now snug is the key word here. Good. Some gearboxes are made of aluminum and can strip easily, so do not over tighten them. And that goes for the fill bolt too when that time comes. Now you have some options here of what to put inside. First you need to find out, was it filled with grease or oil? In this case we have oil. The problem I have with grease is it's kind of like cake frosting. When you have it on your plate and you push it to the sides, it'll stay there. Same thing with grease in a gearbox. When you fill it with grease, some grease will get on the gears and then the rest will get pushed away. A little lubrication going on there. And so this video doesn't have any issues with the YouTube algorithm. Would you mind taking a super quick second to hit that like button down below? Thank you. I greatly appreciate it. So what kind of oil should we use? Not your standard motor oil. For this, you need something a little thicker and a little more heavy duty. I have used 80W90 gear oil. 75W90 gear oil will work as well. Basically the same stuff you put in your differentials. And in my experience, either one of these will work fine. You can't go wrong with this. Sten's 00 grease works great too. That is some thicker stuff, but it's tough to find. Now, ARIENS has cornered the market with this. They have their own gear oils for their own lineup. For these older ARIENS snow throws, I follow a lot of information on the Scott Lawrence ARIENS 1960s and 1970s info site. And on that site, I saw some recommendations to use this gear oil on these older gearboxes. This is the ARIENS Premium Gear Lube SAE 90MP. So filling it up is as simple as this. I cut the top off my cap here. I'm gonna insert it into the fill hole, and then I'm gonna add a little bit at a time, just like so. Bring it back, let it settle, add a little bit more, and just keep repeating the process until it starts draining out of the fill hole. We don't need it to come gushing out, so we just add a little bit at a time. There we go. And that's that. She is now full. From here, what I'm gonna do is insert my fill plug, twist it in by hand, and then just simply tighten her down. Again, snug is the key word. You don't wanna over tighten it. Good. That'll do. Drippy, drippy, drippy. Let's wipe this guy up. Excellent. Now that this guy is completely filled up and sealed with the plug, it's a good time to check for any leaks on the sides by your seals to make sure nothing's coming out. It's also a good idea to leave a piece of cardboard or even a tray underneath it for about 24 hours to see if anything's leaking out anywhere. And check this out. I only used about a third of this container, so that's great. I'll have enough for about at least 1 or 2 more uses on it. Now, the previous directions were for your standard drain and fill gearbox. Now, if you have one of these older ARIENS snow throws, I have the directions directly from the owner's manual right here. It says to drain and fill the gearbox approximately every 25 hours, which equates to roughly once a year. You're going to remove the drain plug and allow the oil to drain. Then here's where things start to get a little different. From here, you're going to tip the machine back onto its handlebars. Because of the way this machine is balanced, believe it or not, it will actually stay perfectly in this position. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that tipping the machine back like this will allow a little bit more fluid to sit inside this kind of gearbox. I decided to wedge a piece of cardboard in here in case this guy wants to do the drippy drippy. From here, you're gonna remove the fill plug. Now what we're gonna do here is we're gonna take our premium SAE MP90 gear oil and we're gonna pour it into this top hole and we're gonna wait for it to come out of the bottom hole. I'm placing this measuring cup underneath just to catch any drips. Same procedure, we're gonna pour a little bit in, back it off, let it settle, pour a little bit in, let it settle, and we're gonna put in approximately 5 ounces according to the directions. Watching that bottom hole because I don't wanna waste too much. Just a little bit more, and there it goes. We are now full. At this point, we're gonna pop in our drain plug, screw it in by hand, and tighten it down. Again, you want it snug, do not over tighten it. Good. And pop in your fill plug, and tighten her down. Good. This whole procedure took about 10 minutes or less to do. Then just carefully tip the machine back down, and you're good to go. Let's fire this baby up and give it a spin. Don't forget to reinstall your spark plug. Looks good to me. Looking good, baby. Now let's talk about some situations that you may encounter while you're doing this procedure. Let's start out with grease. If you're using some kind of grease, pour it in, let it settle, then pour it in again and let it settle and keep repeating this process. That way you don't get any air pockets building up inside the gearbox. Manufacturers typically recommend to fill a gearbox with grease about 3/4 of the way. A lot of manufacturers recommend this when using grease because there's a plug on the top, and if you fill it with too much grease, that can actually force the plug to pop itself free while the gears are spinning. Now, one mechanic taught me a long time ago that if you have grease inside and you're not getting enough grease on the gears, what you could do is fill it with oil. You shouldn't have any problems doing this and you'll get better lubrication. I did this once before on a snowblower a long time ago and still no issues to report on that gearbox. Leaking seals here on the sides can be an issue. If you see oil leaking out, unfortunately, I have to say this, you are in a tough spot. Dismantling just about any gearbox is time consuming and expensive. It can be done, but it's a lot of work to get in there to replace a tiny seal. You're gonna be working harder than an ugly stripper to fix it. You do have an option though. You could try pumping some grease inside because grease won't leak out as easily and that could be a quick fix for you. Depending on the model and the year of your machine, it may be to your advantage to just replace the whole gearbox assembly completely or to possibly consider a new machine. Now, if you have a sealed gearbox, what you could do is on the top, drill a small hole, take a tap, put some threads in it, and then you could insert a fill plug. That would allow you to put grease or oil in whenever you want. Now, if you have a fillable gearbox like this, oil or grease should be checked and added as needed. Be sure to check your owner's manual for exactly how much grease or oil you should add. I'll probably be doing a video on these ARIENS fillable gearboxes down the road. Now, if you start hearing some grinding noise from your gearbox, start saying every prayer that you could possibly think of. Chances are good that your gears are worn and in need of replacement. If you check your gearbox at least once a season, you should be able to avoid that drama. Lastly, to keep things moving, it's a great idea to grease your augers as well. I did a video on this procedure and it's loaded with tips. I'll have that video linked down below, as well as another video on how to grease your augers if you don't have any Zerk fitting. For more cool garage gear content, click or tap the screen right here. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the garage.